Hello, my name is Amy Banks, and I am the competition manager for the School-Based Mental Health Services Grant Program, or SBMH. On this section of the Grant Management and Administration webinar, we will be discussing expanded authorities and administrative actions. So, expanded authorities is what governs the administrative actions for the discretionary grants here. That means that as a grantee, you have flexibility to conduct certain administrative actions, and those are listed here. Examples are pre-award costs, which we talked a little bit about in your introductory calls, carryover, which is the funds moving from one year to the next if they're not all spent in a particular grant year, budget transfers, moving money between categories in your budget, and one-time no-cost extensions. For pre-award costs, those refer to reimbursement for any allowable costs that occurred up to 90 days prior to the start of the budget or the performance period. Anything longer than that, in terms of 90 days before, that would require departmental approval. So the following considerations apply here under expanded authorities: that you should have a reasonable expectation of receiving a grant. The expenditures are incurred at your own risk, of course. Funds are not available until the budget period begins, and funds can't be used to pay for cost overruns from any previous year. When we talk about carryover, again, we're talking about any unexpended funds that are forwarded to the next budget period. I know in some departments, some agencies, any money that isn't spent in a particular grant year is lost. That is not the case here. While it's never guaranteed, you're generally allowed to carry unexpended funds from one grant year over to the next. That's called carryover. That is allowed for allowable costs that are within the approved project scope, for you to complete any unfinished activities. The way that you request to use your carryover and what for is just a written statement to your federal project officer, your FPO. So that's just the form of an email detailing how those funds will be spent and when, at what date you expect that those carryover funds will be exhausted. If you continue to carry over large amounts of funding from one year to the next, it's possible that continuation funds for your next grant year could be reduced. Budget transfers are moving money between budget categories. So if you have the categories that Ed provided in your budget, you might need to move money from one category to another due to circumstances you may not have been able to foresee. For example, if you were not able to hire on time and you have personnel salary money sitting there, you can request to use that for a different allowable activity. However, transfers can't change the project scope or the objectives. They're not for changing key personnel. Also, you cannot have the project director away for more than 3 months. In addition, budget transfers can't require a request for additional federal funds. Training funds that are earmarked for training generally are not allowed to move to other budget categories, and transferring funds to contracting from other budget categories. However, simply let us know, us as your FPOs, by way of email how you want to use the funds within the transfer, the amount of the funds, which categories you're moving it in between, and why. Under administrative actions, this means a post-award, so any time after the first of the year, a post-award change to the original grant documentation. For example, if you did not have a permanent project director at the time you received the award, and you later identified one, in order to make that change on your grant, that's an administrative change, your FPO can complete that in G5, which is some information from you. And when we do make an administrative change, again, the example I used was a named project director. That change in G5 will make a change to your grant award notification, or your GAN. Whenever there's an administrative action made of any sort to your grant, it updates that GAN, and the system, the G5 system, will generate a new GAN. The GAN always goes out to the project director, and typically goes out to both the project director and the certifying official that's listed on your grant file. Please know that we can't permit grantees to change the project scope in order to provide basic fairness to other applicants. So when we talk about not changing scope, we're referring to not doing that because this was a peer-reviewed grant competition, and we don't want to propose and approve activities that other people did not compete against. Administrative actions, again, require approval from your federal project officer, your FPO. Any previously approved requirement that is established by the terms and conditions of the grant is also an administrative action. Pre-award costs, again, that were 90 days prior to the performance or the budget period. Administrative actions also include a change in key personnel, for example, a project director or a certifying official. Just keep in mind that you cannot have the absence of a project director for more than 3 months. Administrative actions that require approval. The approval is from your federal project officer typically. That includes a 25% reduction in the project director's time, or if you're going to transfer any substantive work to a third party, or any other costs that require approval in accordance with the OMB circulars listed here, and revising any grantee cost sharing, or the transfer of a grant from one entity to another.